So object-oriented programming was kind of a recreation of the real world. Now, if we look at anything that we're looking around us, like in my office, I see a window, I see my grapes, my keyboard, mouse, so forth, so on. Every one of those is an object, right? Now, we're trying to recreate that inside our programming language, inside our system. First thing we need to understand is we got to recreate those in here. So before we actually code, we're just going to kind of write what's necessary for it to be an object. Well, one thing we noticed is as I was naming everything, every object requires a name, right? So something unique that would define it. Something that's straightforward that would say what it is and what it does. Sorry for my horrible drawings. Anyway, now other than name, what can we say about those objects, right? Let's say if we were talking about this pen, well, there is many different pens. What would make this pen different from another pen? I don't seem to have another pen lying around. So what makes this pen different from other pens? Well, maybe the feel in your hand, maybe the color it writes on. It could be black, it could be blue, green, whatever color it is. Maybe the length, right? So every object has these things we call attributes. Let's take another example before we write it down. Let's say something that we're more comfortable with, each person. A person is an object as well. What kind of attributes a person has? Well, they have, let's say, eyes, they have eyebrows, hair, they have ears, mouth, so forth, so on. They have skin, they have beard, they have no beard, etc. All of these could be defined by attributes. Let's try that out. So we said we have a person, and we're talking about more of a general sense. We're not talking about a direct person yet. We're defining what a person would be. So let's say inside person, what do we say? Well, he has hair. Now, hair is a bit more, it could be another object itself, right? It has length, it has color, and so forth, so on. But for now, we're just going to specify each one by one. So we're going to say hair. Actually, let me write it in the correct hair color, right? We could have hair length. That's really true because some people have either cut off their hair, some people let it go flowing, etc. We have eye color. We have, I don't know. Let's say, do you have a mustache or a beard or etc. Let's say some other stuff. The height of a person, the weight of a person, the age of a person, the, I don't know, the skin color. Some people can get tan, some people can't. All of these would be considered attributes. Why are these attributes of a person? Well, let's look at some examples. If we were to look one person to another person, let's say I'm the first person, I'm a Reza. That's my name. Actually, an attribute, a good attribute that I forgot to add, it could be, let's put it right here, name. Okay? So the first object I create, or the first person I create, is this, I'm going to just say R here, but its name is Reza. That's my name. What's his hair color? It's black, maybe sometimes brown in the sunlight. What's the hair length? Well, it's diminishing, maybe almost zero. I don't know. Let's say a good length. Let's say 5 centimeters. I have no clue. What's his eye color? It's brown. What's his height? 5'7", I think. What is his weight? Let's say, I think now 220. What is his age? Really old man. Wisdom wise or body age. Anyway, let's say 30 for now. Skin color, brownish. Right? So now we got our first object. You could see that those attributes still exist within me. Their values most likely are different from yours. Right? So if we had another person, well, obviously their name is going to be something else. Let's say Max. Their hair color is maybe blonde. I don't know. Their hair length is probably super long. Let's say 30 centimeters. Their eye color is probably blue. Their height, they're probably 6 feet 7. I don't know. Their weight is probably less than mine, 190. Their age is probably an 18-year-old. Their skin color is probably white, etc. Now, if you look at Max and you look at me, we have different values, but we're still a person. We still have the same attributes, right? So this attribute is really important. So every object is composed of attributes, something that defines the object, right? So a good exercise at this moment is pause the video, look around you, and look at each object and see what defines that object. Let's say your mouse. My mouse has, well, I'm not a fan of the color stuff, but it has a color thing. It's a laser pointer type of thing, and it does a few other things. Can you specify all the definitions, or sorry, all the attributes that defines your mouse? And keep on doing that for everything else, because you're going to notice when you're going to program, this is basically what you're going to do in OOP. So that's the first part. The first part is we got the name and we got the attributes associated to that object. So for an object of person, so that's the name, we have all of these attributes. Now the next thing, let me take out my eraser here. The next thing that an object is defined by is not, well, the attributes does a lot of it. The next thing is the functionalities that it does. Or a better way I like to say, it's actions that it could take. So if you were to think about a person, well, we already talked about how that person could, well, he has all these attributes, but what can a person do? So let's go and specify that. So as a person, I could, I don't know, I could jump. I could learn. This is an important one that we all try to do. I jump, I learn, I could, be goofy, I could sleep, right? I could do a lot of things. Notice that all of these are actions. Why are they actions? Is because they're not going to happen unless I do them. These actions are methods for us inside our Java when we're going to define them. So whenever I say jump, you'll do all the code required to jump. The same way I am talking right now, my body does all the required actions, all the required whatever, to be able for me to talk to you properly. So these actions are the next thing that's really important for objects. Every object could do something. Let's try some other stuff before we go a bit further into it. Let's say the lights inside my room right now. Well, the lights has attributes, which is the color, the length, the strength of it, how bright it is. It also has some actions. The action is turn on, turn off. Now, some lights might even have a dim. Again, it's an action. What does the action do? Well, turn off, turn on will turn on the light, turn it off. The dim will change the value of the brightness, right? They're changing the attributes of itself sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't change anything in there. But the fact is, it's an action that the light could do. Same thing goes with your screens. You could turn it on, turn it off, change the settings, etc. You have the attributes which defines it, but the actions is things it could do to do, basically. One other thing you'll need to note is that all these actions are verbs. And this is important. So from now on, when we're talking about actions, we're going to talk about verbs. So things it could do. If you can't do it in a verb, you're doing it wrong. You're going to see what I mean in the next step, where we're going to actually create or define, we're going to define one of these objects. I'll see you guys in the next video.